Hello, everybody, and good morning. My name's Don Arleth, and you're watching World Talks, coming to you live from Warsaw. NATO scrambled German Eurofighter jets late on Sunday after Russian reconnaissance aircraft were detected flying over the Baltic Sea without transponders. In response to increasing Russian provocations, EU leaders are looking into more severe responses, both economic and militarily. And now joining me to discuss these latest measures and the reaction of the alliance to Russian provocations is EU Institutional Issues Lecturer at the European Institute of Public Administration, Piotr Kaczyński. Hello, Piotr. Good morning, and thanks for joining us on World Talks.
Good morning, Don. Nice to be back.
Yes, now I want to start off with what may have led to these new Russian provocations. According to reports, the U.S. told European diplomats at the end of August that they would halt the sale of Patriots and other weapon systems to Baltic countries, apparently to focus on U.S. homeland defense and to allow Europeans to take more responsibility here on the continent. Now, are these latest brazen provocations a result of Russia testing NATO's resolve, and especially how the U.S. would react?
I would call it a little bit differently. Russia is testing the West, but Russia is testing Europe when United States is more and more withdrawn from Europe. So the question that we should be asking today is how much United States is invested in securing European security together with Europeans, but not exclusively by Europeans. And that's the main question. And this is probably the question that Russians are testing. Why I'm saying this? Because yes, you might be right in saying that Americans have been sending this message that they are not going to sell as many weapons to Europe as they used to. But this is exactly in contradiction to what Americans have been saying for many, many months, if not years, that Europeans need to buy more security, and the primary shop that they should be buying it from is United States. You look at all of those Patriot systems, F-16, F-35s, and everything else, then this is US made. So this is a main question out there. Why would Americans, especially under this president, turn away from such good, commercially good deals? And apparently it was Denmark that first heard the news that, sorry guys, but instead of selling you some of the Patriots, we need to make sure that we have enough on our side first. America first, after all. So at the end of the day, as long as there are European replacements, and in the case of the Danish, there were, then it's on the European side, it's all right on these practicalities. But the bigger question remains, is America committed to defend Europe together with Europeans? Because when we saw back to this fatal night on the 9th to 10th September, if American soldiers were in Rzeszów, as they were used to be for many, many years until President Donald Trump have withdrawn them earlier this year, would Russian drones be targeting US soldiers? Question mark. And we don't have answers to those hypothetical questions, but this big question definitely remains.
Indeed. Now, when asked whether the U.S. would defend Poland and if the provocations escalate, U.S. President Donald Trump said that the U.S. stands ready to defend the Baltics and Poland. Now, with this considered, how should NATO respond to the next violation of its airspace? Should it be more aggressive? Should it take a more serious stance, knowing that the backstop, the United States, is indeed there, but it's up to the Europeans to react or to do something about it?
Absolutely. This is a very valid question. This is a very valid question for September 2025, in the sense that we have not only drones coming over, but we have planes coming over. And a lot of people are pointing out to this history or this incident with a Russian plane flying over territory of Turkey for less than half a minute, and it was shut down by the Turkish, and that was last decade before the 2022 invasion. So, and this is Turkey, who is much more, if you like, friendly, was much more friendly to Russia back in the day than some European nations are towards Russia today. So, can we shoot it down? Yes, because this is about protecting our sovereignty, our collective sovereignty of the Baltic states, territories of the Polish or Romanian or Finnish territory. The question is, will we have the courage? And here, the protocols out there within NATO are in place, and should an incident occur that will allow for such a strike, then there will be such a strike. Remember when we have had another set of provocations earlier this year on with ships and this shadow fleet of ships traveling across the Baltic, for example, not only the Baltic, but also the Baltic. Then there were already incidents involving the Finnish, the Estonians, especially Estonians, with or without ships coming out of St. Petersburg. So to make sure that we are responsive and reactive in a proper way, we on the Western side, we are doing actually quite all right. It is the Russians who are more creative. They are testing new ways, and we are responding accordingly, but not to the degree that the Russians have been able to break us in any way. The biggest breaks that where the Russians are effectively very successful with is supporting nationalist forces politically in many European or North American political debates and elections, and this way undermining European and transatlantic trust and alliance.
It was reported on Saturday that the United Kingdom scrambled its fighter jets all the way across the continent. What does this say about, I guess, Polish state of preparedness or the state of the alliance?
Look, the British have a very decent knowledge about the whereabouts of the Russian military in the Nordic Atlantic, not only in the Baltic area. So, so all this goes down to much bigger territory. And we should not forget that the British have many more planes, jets, than any other country in the northern sphere. The Baltics have practically zero military planes on their own. This is why the talk of Sunday was about the German planes, because NATO keeps various member states planes policing the Baltic airspace, and this time it's Germany. Next term will be somebody else, and in doing so, then it is the question for the country in question to deliver the ultimate strike, should such a strike occur. Now, hopefully, it will be done in a coordination with information where everybody is supportive of the action, and there's no doubt that that was the right decision to take. The same way we have seen the kind of gathering behind the Poles when those drones came over Poland a couple weeks ago.
Right. Now, I'd like to ask you about tariffs on oil from the Druzhba pipeline. The EU, with a simple majority, can impose tariffs on this oil, essentially forcing Slovakia and Hungary to buy oil elsewhere, something that we've all been calling for many, many, many months. Will this strategy work, and how big do you think these tariffs will be or need to be to force both Slovakia and Hungary to buy elsewhere?
Look, EU is such a delicate political entity that it relies not only on laws but also on big political will. And if the Hungarians and Slovaks are going to comply or they will not comply, that is a main question. Because if they are outvoted and they don't comply, the case will go to the Court of Justice. It will take another time to produce whatever outcome of the judicial process and proceedings. So the bigger question out there, the much more important question out there, if the Hungarians and the Slovaks, now under both Brussels and Washington pressure, because Donald Trump also sent a letter recently calling on all Europeans to shut down the energy imports from Russia. So it's a joint pressure on Budapest and Bratislava. So we need to give and work with the Hungarians and Slovaks a way out, how to procure, how to provide energy resources that both Slovakia and Hungary need without the Russian supplies, so that they feel secure. There's another winter coming. They need to heat their houses. They need to fuel their economy, etc. So Hungarians, for what I know, have been preparing already for the move, and it's not that it's impossible. The question was about the environment, the circumstances under which the switch would happen. So I would be cautiously optimistic that both the Slovaks and the Hungarians are going to be able to comply at the end of the day. But it's a mixture, not only just by legal pressure, but also the political will on the countries and assistance to transform and transition towards the switch from Russian resources to other sources.
All right, well, we'll have to see how that plays out. Hopefully, this latest tactic will force a move there in Slovakia and Hungary. Piotr Kaczyński, Institute of Public Administration, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
And that concludes this edition of World Talks. Thanks for joining us, and stay with us for more here on TVP World.